afternoon, Ms. Smith. First off, I wanted to say thank you for sharing your time with me this afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great. Today I wanted to share and discuss Courtney's Scholastic Test of Achievement Scores. Have you ever heard of that before?
No, I haven't. What is it?
So the Scholastic Test of Achievement Scores is a test to see what they have learned from the year and from the curriculum and my teaching strategies I have used in the classroom. I have brought her scores to break it down with me, so please stop me along the way if you have any questions.
That sounds great.
Okay, wonderful. Let's get started. So at the top of the score sheet, you will see my name, the school's name, Courtney's name, and the day that the test took place. The test is divided into two sections. So the top portion is the norm reference information, which is compared to a norm group. And the second portion of the test is the criterion reference information, which shows her performance on specific set of skills.
Can I ask you, what is a norm group?
Of course, great question. The norm group is formed by a group of students from across the nation of the same age and the same grade and have taken the same exact test under the same circumstances.
Oh, I completely understand. Okay.
Yes, so the test sections are listed here on the left-hand side and include some subtests which are outlined by specific skills within a subject. At the bottom you will see basic battery and complete battery. Basic battery refers to all the core subjects with the exception of science and social studies. The complete battery refers to all subjects tested. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions?
No, I understand. Thanks for explaining that.
Perfect. Now let's look at this portion. You will see a variety of columns that are labeled. Let's look at the reading section of Courtney's scores. First, we have the number of items, which simply shares with you the number of questions Courtney tested over. Next, you will see the raw score, which is the amount of questions Courtney answered correctly. Out of the 108 questions Courtney answered, she answered 83 of them correctly.
Wow.
The next column over is the national percentile, which shows us that Courtney scored in the 53rd percentile in total reading compared to the norm group. Then, as you move to the second scales, to see the comparison of Courtney's scores, let's take a peek at the bell curve printout, which I have for you right here, to see the percentile scale, which goes from 1 to 99 percentile, with 50 being the average score. So as you can see, Courtney's score is average and moving in a positive direction.
Oh, that's really good to hear.
Yes. Over here, as you can see in the last column to the right, in the band column, which stands for standard error of measurement. As you know, there is no perfect test, so this allows for a little bit of wiggle room. Why is it so quiet? Things like awkwardly worded questions, a child being tired, can also influence the test scores, which is why we're taking this into consideration when we do the whole entire test.
Oh, okay.
Overall, this band is a section of quick snapshots of Courtney's scores right here.
Oh, okay.
Do you have any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, great. Now let's talk about the scaled score column. This column is a standard score which helps us get a score we can compare and average since the other raw scores are based on different amount of questions.
Oh, okay.
When we look back at our bell curve printout, the sheet right here, the scores are on a point system starting from 200 all the way to 800, with 500 being the average. So as you can see, for the most part, Courtney is right in the average of the majority of the core subjects. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, but how do they get that score?
Excellent question. So what they have to do to take this raw score is plug it into an equation, and that gets a scaled score so we can compare Courtney's scores into the class or district average.
Oh, gotcha. That makes total sense.
You betcha. So let's move on to the bottom portion of the criterion reference information, which as we mentioned before, Courtney's performance on specific set of skills and areas like reading comprehension, vocabulary, among others. Looking at these scores, are there any questions that you have or you think anything is confusing?
No, not really. It looks pretty straightforward.
Awesome. So as we look at this chart, you will notice that on the left-hand side, there is a list of specific skills that Courtney was tested on. Next to that column is labeled RS, which refers to the questions that she answered correctly. The column after that is NP, which stands for the total number of questions. Following that, there is a range of low, medium, and high. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, but can you explain that a little bit better? Like, what does low, medium, and high
Oh, yes, sure.
refer to?
Absolutely. I sure can. Let's look at Courtney's structural analysis, which refers to words that could contain prefixes, suffixes, and root words. Out of the 10 questions on the test, Courtney answered 10 of them correctly. This does not surprise me at all because you can see right here in her portfolio, as we look over here, she scored a perfect score in her root words activity we did in class. Now, when we look at math concepts, specifically in the geometry section, we can see Courtney scored in the medium range. I do believe she has made progress when it comes to the skills since we took this exam because, mind you, it was taken a few months back.
Oh, okay.
As you can see right here in her math portfolio, there are her improvements.
Oh, okay.
I do want to bring your attention to Courtney's government score. As it ranged in the lower end, now just know that I don't fully agree with the way that this test was graded compared to some of the other sections. So therefore she only misses one that affects her score significantly, which puts her in a low range because there is a small amount of numbers.
Questions.
Yes, questions on the test. So if you miss one, you're low range. So do you ever read books to Courtney at home, or does she ever read to you?
Yeah, we read every night before bed.
Oh, great. Can I ask you what kind of books you read to her?
Well, she's mostly into fairy tales and like fantasy books.
Oh, awesome. Those are great book choices. I love those. I was just going to suggest that maybe every so often you can incorporate reading some nonfiction books. By doing this, we'll give Courtney the opportunity to be exposed to more information, which could help in her government class because she has something similar to read off of.
Oh, I've never thought about that before. It's such a great idea. Thanks for mentioning it.
Absolutely. On the other hand, we can look at Courtney's vocabulary skills in the listening section, and you will see that she scored high. Courtney proposes a strong vocabulary foundation, and it displays in all of her writing, as you can see right over here on this activity on her portfolio.
Oh, okay.
After we have reviewed all of her scores, I want to stress that Courtney has made incredible progress this school year, and I cannot wait to see how well she succeeds in the future grades. I have printed out an explanation of the test scores and like that you can take home and review after and look over. And do you have any questions?
No, I sure don't. Thank you.
Okay, great. Of course. It has been a pleasure. The pleasure has been all mine. She's such a wonderful student to have, and brought so many assets into the classroom. If you ever need anything at all or have any other questions, please don't hesitate to call or email me.
Yeah, no, this was very helpful, and I really appreciate you being so thorough and explaining everything. Courtney has loved having you for a teacher this year.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.